We did it. I don't know how we did it, but we did it. My name is Neal. Welcome, Sarah Jean. Hey, welcome, Tycon. So, my name is Neal. What we did, Neal didn't do. Uh, Neal's my name, but it's not who I am. And so you might ask yourself, well, like, all right, well then, who am I? I am eternity in the present moment. I'm a multi-dimensional, infinite spiritual being that's expressing through a human body. And right now, there's an opportunity to come from an infinite location, to set aside perception, to set aside expectation, to set aside opinion, to set aside my truth. Not because of not liking the perception or the expectation or the opinion or the my truth, but simply because of a recognition that those are aspects of the I am, and they're partial. They're partial in that they are distinctions within the whole that in our upbringing we use to generate an egoic construct. And then that egoic construct speaks with using these four components, and it sounds like my experience was yada yada yada, whatever it might say, or my perception was that this thing happened. Well, yes, but and that's your perception. My opinion is this. My truth is whatever my truth is. And so the ego speaks with from these four locations. And right now there's an opportunity to speak from the thing that the ego exists inside of, but transcends the ego and actually includes all of the other egoic constructs. And that place is a place that I call completion. It's a place I call God. It's a place that is always available, and we choose to give it our attention. We choose to give it our focus. There's right now in this portion of the masterclass, imagine that we're in a mastermind and that it's that mastermind is a collective brain. And so like here in right now, like in this portion of the masterclass, how to interact is like if you want to speak, you can physically raise your hand. If you want to speak, you can just pick up a microphone and start speaking. I invite interruptions. Interruptions, I call them that, but I don't actually believe in them. I see them as synchronicities. And so I invite this. So please interrupt or raise your hand. Right now we're in a feminine portion of this master class. So I'll pause here and see what's alive.
What's present for me is the relationship between time and eternity. And seeing how it kind of goes both ways, in the sense of like, you can be in eternity, and in being there, being just present, ever present, when you interact with others, in effect, you're bringing into time, like heaven to earth, you're bringing eternity into time, whatever part of it or piece of it that we are in space and time, right? So, but then I also see the relationship the other way around. So, for example, John speaks to, in the way that relative to humanity, he's living in the future, right?
Yes.
And so in that respect, he's also living in time, but in relation to eternity. So that's what I mean. It's like the other way. And so
In the first way that you described,
Yeah.
are you, and this is like an inquiry I'm in, are you bringing eternity into time, or is the eternity just being revealed?
eternity is being revealed. Yeah.
And what does that revealing look like?
It's the realization, it's whatever that we are one, that there is no separation, not in space and not in time, between us. So it's whatever aspect of ourselves, or perhaps the whole of ourselves, or, you know, whatever it is in that moment in time that we get perhaps a glimpse of. And I guess the point is, the closer we individually get to that, to eternity, the closer we get to each other, and the more we are able to stay in that space as reflections of each other, kind of like all the facets and all the aspects kind of relating to each other within that space. So, but then again, there's, I guess, the reason it has my attention right now in this particular way, the kind of two-way relationship, is that well, John, like, I had a breakthrough recently regarding being the holder of whatever reality, which is like something that I'm seeing that perhaps others aren't seeing, and then effectively being the bringer of it. But the only way to be the holder or the bringer is egoically. In other words, you're taking responsibility onto yourself, like, okay, God revealed to you something, or like something came from eternity, and then you take it upon yourself to make that a reality, as if it isn't already. In the sense, that's what, you know, everything is perfect, like that's why that's such an important sort of, not concept, but like point of identification, that everything is perfect, that you are an eternal being, and etc. It's important to relate to yourself as that, to not make the mistake that and that everyone else is that. So you being the holder and the bringer of something is not, you know. But then at the same time, this is the part where was kind of like, earlier today, it's not where I feel like I was coming from. Earlier today, in the same respect that John said that he's in the future, and relative to others, it's just an awareness of a fact. It's not of reality, it's not of the truth, but it's an awareness of a fact and how you relate to this fact. And so it's just an acknowledgement, in effect. It's like it's a self-acknowledgement. It's an acknowledgement of the parts of yourself that are in eternity that relative to humanity are it's like on track. It's on the way to get there. So you know it's already done. It's done, but you're still living in time. The illusion of time is not yet ended. And so yeah, that's where I feel that I am in certain respects in this context.
Do you find yourself at times like experiencing eternity while in time?
Yeah.
And when you're not when you're experiencing time in time and you've previously experienced eternity in time, what's different?
What's different between the two, or you're saying like
what's different in your observation of what's going on
in those moments or presently?
In the moments.
Well, one feels like you're fully surrendered, you're fully present, you're with God, you're kind of, you have a tether, and you know that, he has you, like that eternity it takes away the responsibility, which is the playing God, the responsibility for for others or for the collective or for that you're meant to be the savior or stop something or make something happen, like that it's all happening as is, and it's all there is for you to do is be as is. So the difference is when in time you start trying to piece together what you're witnessing or observing going on, and you're trying to piece it together in your head, and you're trying to where does this fit and where does this fit? Okay, this belongs in this space, this belongs in this space. It's like, aha, okay. And so yeah, it just becomes a problem solving sort of not a game, but you resort to that. That's what you have, a void of God. So that being said, I also see, so part of this relationship that I'm trying to, that I'm bringing into this space is that's also not wrong. In the world of right and wrong, that's not wrong because it's a 3-part equation. There's the true self, there's Jesus, and then there's God, and each of those have a role, each of them have a part in reality as far as how we're relating to ourselves and each other. And so the way that I see it is Jesus is the absolver, it's the absolution. We are the solution. The true self is the solution. That's where the solving comes in. And God is the dissolution, and the dissolution being of the ego. So dissolve, absolve, and solve. And so that's how we are responsible here on earth of while in time of moving ourselves in that direction, towards God, getting closer to God and each other. And God is responsible for moving us closer to him, in the sense, so that's why he sent Jesus, in a sense, he's not responsible, but he chose to create a way back, right? If we're going to be biblical about it, after Adam and Eve in the garden and we fell down, and so it's okay, well, you made this choice, you being humanity, and so now what's a way? So what's a way back? We can't figure it out ourselves, so we needed Jesus to show us the way. And then that also reveals the fact that God is on the throne, in the sense that, okay, we leaped out from heaven, but heaven is real, and here's the proof, in a sense, because to the extent that we needed it. And
Yes.
now it's these three working together, and I feel like the true self in some ways here at Earthwaking anyway, in this paradigm, is regarded as an extension of either Jesus or an extension of God.
I relate it, so this is how I personally relate to it, and this is where I'm glad you spoke to that, because I was thinking, I was like, do I speak to it when you're communicating? But there's a great window. I relate to the ego, or not the ego as being the solver, and then the true self as being an extension of God coming through Jesus.
Right, yeah, so that is a way that fits within the paradigm that, like, well, I guess the way John oftentimes describes it. So the way that I see it is a little bit differently. I see them each as independent agents which together comprise a united sort of force, which can be used in, not used, how do I put it? It's when when you own your reality fully and completely, and those three are united, you have access to your true self, you have access to God, you have access to Jesus, specifically in the context of interpersonal relationships, like the Christ, I see the Christ in you, you see the Christ in me, or we see the Christ in, so, and then the Holy Spirit is what connects the three.
I share this view, and
it's like yes to God, yes to Jesus, yes to the true self, and it's not really no. There is really no. There isn't a no. It's all yes. So the no is, it's not Jesus, it's not God, it's not of God, it's not of the true self, and so it just falls outside of yes. So God says no. Like God is that's why there's the masculine sort of feature attributed to God, because that's going to come from God. That authority, the supreme authority is so yeah, so the extension thing is like the true self being an extension of Jesus or God. It's what you're speaking to is more about is less of a spatial and relational thing and more of a sequential or hierarchical thing. So it's like God, Jesus, and then us. Like Jesus is the doorway or the medium through which you get to God. The only way to God is through Jesus. And so you can connect it like that. But if you step out of, but that's, ironically, that's in time.
Yes.
In time, there is that journey or that sort of progress. But in eternity, they're all aspects of, well, it's all God. It's all God. But the way it's broken down is, as I say, it's simultaneously the true self, simultaneously Jesus, and simultaneously God. And I
can relate to this, and I believe this, but I haven't fully experienced it.
I don't think anyone has fully.
I think it's possible, but needing to transcend the physical body to experience it. And it would be actually beyond experiential. It'd be like just observing it.
Being it, it would be all. It would be being it, seeing it, feeling it, experiencing, and existentially aligning with it. What has to do with what?
Any of the senses.
Yeah. I mean, it's really just being it. But in the process, you will, I mean, as you're, I guess, making it there will be an experiential component. It would just be, because there's all the connections and energies and whatever in your body that are still tied to the physical in whatever way, like even you feeling this chair or you feeling like, so that shift in your consciousness, that shift or transformation or connection or whatever you want to call it will be experienced in some way. So I'm not saying you go after it through experience. Like you chase experience, like, oh, I felt this experience, so that's the way I need to go.
Sounds like an actualization just happens because it's beyond it. It's like beyond senses, because the senses is ego. Like, oh, I smell this, I taste this, that's all not real. It's not feeling anything physically. What I'm hearing you speak about is the actualization, the atonement, the at-one-ment. And that's beyond experience, beyond anything that we can feel, taste, touch, smell, beyond our senses. It's the true nature of what we are.
So I make a distinction between physical experience and physical senses and metaphysical. So like we have our soul, or our true self has an inner sense. So it's like the sixth sense, maybe you can call it. And it's, yeah. So even intuitive sense, or like just innocence, or sense of communion, or social sense, or sense of justice, or whatever. Like these are an integral part of what comprises our true selves. And the illusion, or the mistake, I guess you can say, that we fall under is that we use our ego to then try to make real what already is. Like that's what I was speaking about earlier, as far as being the holder or the bringer of reality. Only God is that. And so, but there's a mistake from the other side that's often made, which is disregarding those inner senses, that social sense, that sense of justice, sense of communion, the innocence. It's like there's a failure there of taking personal responsibility. So what I love about the paradigm we have here at Earthwaking is that it acknowledges both. Like, okay, yes, you give it to God, and you take personal responsibility for your reality completely, because that's what, in religion usually, or not in religion, but in formalized religion, the indoctrination or whatever, like where it's actually following the letter or the rules or whatever. It's like, or just kind of like absolving. A lot of people absolve themselves or abnegate their own personal responsibility by using Jesus as like, okay, well, it's already done. I don't have to care about anything. I can just do whatever. Like, and they ironically just end up following whatever programming, like in the world, or social programming. And yeah.
It might sting a little. You're doing that now. I've been sitting here and listening, and I feel like you're speaking about a lot of facts and talking around something, and it's like I can't really feel your heart inside of this conversation. It's like if your kid was gonna jump into the pool in the deep end and you're spitting facts at him. You're like, well, you knew you didn't know how to swim. Like, you should have had your freaking floaties on. No, like, you're gonna jump in the deep end and you're gonna go grab that little child, and so I wanna jump in the deep end with you, and I wanna feel your heart. And it's really heady, and it's not like it's wrong. I just, that's just what I'm noticing. It's a lot of facts, and that's the same thing as the dead letter killeth. It's speaking about a lot of facts about what people think that the Bible says, but it's actually not. And they make it mean something that's not what God's saying. And so touching that inner deep part of yourself inside of that deep end is, how is all this? How is this all related to you? And what's going on with David?
Pass the ball over here.
No, I was just, maybe I could get another mic. So it doesn't sting. Maybe it should. I don't know. But the reason it doesn't, I feel, is because I would fully acknowledge that, like what you're saying. I'm the difference between when I got here and now is simply that I'm no longer identified with the death and the void and the disconnection and whatever that I came here in, but it's still there. And so what there is to take the place of that, or the restoration or the recovery or reformation, whatever it is that needs to occur, I'm still in that. Like, it hasn't yet happened in a way that I can just say yes. That's also speaking to earlier, like at the meeting, like I'm not identifying with it, but I also, on the other hand, can't say that I am in eternity and I can fully come from there and like relate it to my own heart and soul. And why not? Because so this would tie into what I began by speaking about as far as the relationship between time and eternity, because I don't have control over divine timing. Yeah.
What do you think needs to be inside of you as a way of being that would need that to happen? What would need to be present?
Love.
Now drop time and be that. So standing here, you're saying that you need to have love. In between that is time. Take out time and be love right now.
Obviously.
Hmm?
Obviously.
No. Yeah. I mean, there were times where I was wishing it was like, there were several instances where I tried it. It was pretty funny, actually. Like, there was one time where, before Tony got here, like, I literally just pulled Adam aside, and I'm like, let's just go to Mama Carol's. Like, that's where Tammy at the time was doing all the prayer, and it was actually after the Freedom to Be class, where I declared that, like, I am life. I am, yeah. And it was just, I sat there like an idiot, and just like, okay. I don't know. It's like it's together that it that's part of what I was trying to speak to a little bit also earlier, that in our oneness, like, each of us have a part that we're meant to play, and there's the divine timing of things, and I'm still meant to be where I am. It's part of the surrender. Like, part of the surrender and reconnecting with God was that, okay, I need to, like, I'm okay with being this way for now, in time, but I'm not relating to myself in that. I'm relating to myself in eternity, but as far as my being, it's not. It's interdependent. Like, it's interdependent. Like that. That's the thing. Like, I can make, like, originally it was codependent, where it's like I need to receive it or get it from you guys, like, or something like, something like that. Whereas now it's like I need to. It's like happens simultaneously. Like, I give that and I receive that, and that's when the giving and receiving become one, and then you just are it. Like, you be it. But I don't know how to do that in this moment.
She gave you the invitation.
Yeah, I appreciate. I felt it. I don't know I could do the same. I don't know. It would just.
You go like this.
It's like turning Super Saiyan. Like, I don't know how to
pull all your mental shit. Just go like, and just be with yourself.
Well, there is no try, right? There's only do.
Will do.
I don't know how. I don't know how.
Like this.
God performs that miracle. I don't know how to perform the miracle on myself. Yeah, I have. But in the invitation, the only way I would know how to respond to that invitation is to try. I have stopped trying.
I noticed something at the beginning when not Neal was opening the space. And as you started sharing, I noticed what I would call Neal came back into the space. He had like a really nice smile on his face. He's all lit up and sparkling. This whole conversation is right in alignment with a lot of just incoming energy. And it, for me, is this balance like of acceptance. Like the love is the acceptance, accepting myself of like where I'm at, knowing that it is in part an illusion, but also part of the divine play. And I wanted to ask Neal too, it's like, the question was, do you choose to be somebody? Like, is there, I could feel as you said it, that you were in a space of non-identity. I could feel that. And the question came to me is like, well, because it's been coming a lot to me in just meditation and prayer, is like, who do I choose to be? And that choice has given me some like solid base. Even though that the choice is an illusion, it's like, how do I want to show up? And that in itself creates, or has created for me, the foundation for acceptance, to be like, okay, I want to show up like this. This is how I showed up. I'm accepting it. And then it seems to meld more together into like a way of being. So. Oh, and David over there, I see like this reflection. There's like a big mirror right here, and I'm like just laughing at myself so much. I'm like, oh man, I didn't get it. But the invitation still stands. Like, take your hand, pull the energy from your face, and put your awareness into your heart space.
Okay, I'll accept the invitation. It's definitely more thawed than it was originally coming here. Like I feel, like I can actually feel my heart, and it's like a tiny little pain in there that I can connect with if I choose in the moment. I'm trying to see if I can hear it, like what it's saying or speaking. Yeah, I can't communicate with it still. I can feel it, but I can't hear it or see it.
Where attention goes, energy flows. Like the more you play with your mind, then the more you go to your mind. So do with that as you will.
Yeah.
I acknowledge you for going into your heart. That was really beautiful. And you tracked your system to be able to even identify that you felt something there is really beautiful. That's high awareness. That's already part of it, you know, and working with parts of ourselves where we feel those feelings, it just wants attention. It just wants our awareness placed on it. We don't have to do anything. Like, our bodies are like very intelligent. We don't have to tell it what to do. It just does it automatically. You know, like when we get cut, it heals itself. When a woman gets pregnant, she doesn't say, okay, start doing all the antibodies and make the blood now. No, like, it just creates life inside of her, and she doesn't have to say anything or do anything. It just does it. And so it's only our gift. It's our gift to just place our awareness there to observe what it has to say and what it wants, and it just requires this listening. So it's really beautiful that you just did that and got the invitation and even listened to that. So it was just, thank you for doing that.
I felt it. Like, I felt like a oof. Like, it was a shift in energy.
So prior to coming to Earthwaking, I was part of energy healing work, and I did meditations like from these people called Old Souls and Seekers, and their meditation practices their guided meditations are amazing, and they're on YouTube, and I do them in the mornings. Every morning I put one on, either on the stage, or today it was in the tea room because they were power washing, but it's right before Bible study. You can just come for that, or I can send you the YouTubes, whatever you want, but that is a resource that's helped me so much. Yeah, if that's something that you're interested in, I can send you some of those links, and it really helps you with tracking your body and metabolizing stuck energy inside of your body so you can connect with it more, and what parts and all that.
Is that 7:30?
For me, it's a bit paradoxical because it puts me back into the me trying to do it, like, sort of mindset. And if the practice I've learned, like actually here at Earthwaking, which is what I was looking for, honestly, is to not rely on yourself for that, but to rely on God and have faith that it will. And it's not without you doing anything. It's with you just being a part of God's plan, just trusting that he's not the one that made any mistakes, right? That it's not like, there was a point where I accepted where I'm at and was able to honor myself in my own journey. And that, I feel, was the step there was for me to take, because there's like infinite like modalities and infinite kinds of like meditations and body work and this kind of work and this kind of, and I'm like, I'm not dismissing their value, especially, like, it really depends where you're at. It's like it's taking a supplement or whatever. Like, it can help work with what already is, but you can't make it be something that isn't. In the sense, like you were describing, you can't make the child grow, or the baby or the fetus, develop, or a tree. If you plant it, like, you can water it, but you can't. And so I would be using whatever practices for that, because it's so deep, and because it's like inside of the seed, like where love needs to flow, like how I would need to receive it is on that profound of a level that there's no layer that I can access with my own intention. I don't believe that it's possible that way.
So this ties into your question to me. The question of, do I choose this whatever situation, construct? And how I see it relating is that there's this like surrender where there's not a choosing happening from me choosing. The choosing is from something greater, and then we're just being what's chosen. And then there's another aspect that I see, which is like the watering of the plant. Like in the just being chosen and then expressing God's choice for one's life, you're like, that's just the plant growing. But then in addition, I see that we also do have choices, like we can water the plant. And then that can assist in the growth, but it's not the ultimatum. It's not the thing that's going to get the thing all the way. It's just like, hey, we can choose these things that assist our spiritual growth. Like I can mulch the tree that I am with reading, with having like truthful conversations. That's adding mulch to my tree, and it assists in my growth. But it like ultimately, like I think God does the choosing, and then we can just assist to ignore the mulch and not receive the water, and then like grow accordingly. That's like how I see my answer to your, like the question you proposed, and I just saw it in your share.
I'll touch on that in a second. I felt, I don't know, I felt there was such a beautiful offer over here to come to this amazing class, and then there was something like, it's not going to help me. Yeah. I'm too broken for that.
Me?
I'm just putting words to whatever, you know, my perception might be off, but it's just like energetically, you said, you know, God will show you, and then you're sitting in this group and having a deep conversation with other reflections of God, and one of them invited you to a space. And in that, what I observed was the first thing was like the mind coming back to say, well, here's all the excuses why I can't do that, why I can't receive what God is offering me right now, which most likely is probably on your path to wholeness.
I was similar with that because it's an unhealed heart chooses things for safety and trying to cultivate safety and needs to understand. And a healed heart is very responsible for its presence and where it's coming from, because it knows the impact and how it shows up. So the calling is what I hear is that you want to step into a healed heart space and get in touch with that. First, you have to go through all the unhealed parts, and you'd spoken to like a pain that was there. And so this is like, I hear you with the whole like, I don't want to do it, like coming from the doing space. Well, yeah, or trying space. This is actually an allowance. I can only speak from my own experience, but that was like, I did not like authority or like somebody else telling me how I had to do it. And it's like, well, they had the fruits, they had the results that I wanted, and but my ego's like, no, I don't want to do it that way. I don't want to go in there. It's scary in there. You know, I don't want to see what actually I was hiding in all of the things inside of my heart. And it doesn't feel good when you drop into there, when you really find out what you've been holding for so long. And so I offer those meditations just as a resource to be able to get in touch with that space. You'll be able to do that on your own, and I can tap into that now anytime that I want to, and I don't need that as like a a way to get my hit or something, you know, like a way of doing it. But faith without works is dead. And so you actually find your ways of being in the things that you choose. Like what Taikon was saying, when you choose something and you're stepping into it, it's a whole other world. Because when you don't choose, you are choosing. And so that actually has more control over you than the choices that you make. And so you do have a journey and a destination, and you discover your heart in the process. And by the way, your heart has 44,000 more neurons, and it tells your brain what to do. So if your brain is that highly active and is that miraculous and is able to do all those things, just think about when you get in touch with your heart and what that can do. And you can have your heart telling your mind what to do and having it work in unison with you. Because I'm pretty sure if you have a brain that beautiful, your heart is 10 times more. So I just invite you to that. It's really beautiful. And you don't have to find it there. There's definitely hundreds of other paths. It's just there's one of them that helped me find mine. So.
Well, first I'd just like to acknowledge you and your discernment, or just the depth of insight that there would need to be for you to, you know, discern that about, like when you said, like, I'm too broken for this space, like I'm coming into this space, but I guess you were contrasting with yourself in some way, or seeing, like, I'm not sure, but perhaps you come into the spaces that you come to with the intention of fully receiving what there is, and so then you in that space, and so you can identify that that's absent in me, and that, I would say that's accurate. I don't believe that right here and now in this space necessarily that it's possible, and so that could be a limiting belief in that respect, that perhaps it's just a space, it's indefinitely, no matter where I am or where I go or what time, it's a kind of, perhaps you can call it a humility, that, or vulnerability. That being said, like, the awareness of this fact, which you are now discerning in me, does not change how I'm able or not able to respond. And so, like, respond to, or choose, like choose to respond differently to the situation or to the context or to the, you know, energy. So I just want to shift now to what Sarah was saying, is that it more so being an allowance. And I fully acknowledge that for myself, or like I recognize that as what there is, like it's an allowance. Yeah. And I don't feel like I'm disallowing or necessarily rejecting. If I may inquire, what is it in this space right now that there is or would have been for me to allow, you know, that I didn't, and that would have potentially created the miracle? Because I'm open to it, but it was kind of the invitation that I was given is to,
with your communication on this side, it was like you had placed a meaning on doing. And it didn't even have to do with the meditation. It could have been something else, but that's what was used inside of your communication. Like, oh, if I do this, then that's not going to work for me because I have to do. You already made a meaning on what you needed to do to be able to feel freedom or to receive your miracle, and so you had already placed a condition upon it, instead of just being open to receive, and it could have not worked, or it could have worked. We don't know because it hasn't happened yet, but it was like you had already blocked receiving something because you've already made a meaning to what that is.
So now I can address the other thing you mentioned, which was choice, and not making a choice is also still making a choice. But I have made a choice, and the choice that I made and what I have accepted in everything, because you can try infinitely, like there's infinite things to try, and believing in the one whom the Father has sent, like that is what I entertained at first as a idea, and then increasingly allowed as a potential of something, and created like a space within myself to be able to receive that. And it's my choice and decision is to just, that is the one thing that I place my focus on. And so everything else, to me, it effectively serves as a distraction. It's not because I placed meaning on it, like a negative meaning. It's because I placed a positive meaning on the focus that I choose to have. So that's where I'm at. I don't know how much this might make sense to you, because I'm like referencing like things that are here spoken to here.
Making sense. It makes many sense of similar places I feel like I've been trapped in the past. And so I like making it simple. So you got invited to go to this cool thing at 7:15 each morning, and it was like, nah. But it wasn't no from like the heart, like I felt into it, that doesn't feel right. It was more like, hey, like actually this is the solution, I got it over here. So, and there's infinite options, so I don't want to get swallowed in infinity. I'm going to stay with this one choice. So
I already happened, by the way. I got swallowed by eternity. Like eternity.
So there's some fear in there then.
No, it wasn't a fear. It wasn't from the, again, you're discerning correctly, I would say, but I mean, you can say that about it. Like, this is why Kirk stands where he does in relation to me, because that's the only thing he looks for. And it's just not going to, I'm not saying it's never going to happen, but like at this point, and I'm done fighting.
What's never going to happen?
I'm done fighting to myself, trying to come from the heart and be in the heart, and like this isn't new to me. It's not like I was born like this. I'm 32. This happened 2 years ago. I have a lot of experience of being in the heart and coming from the heart, and it was readily accessible to me, that my subconscious, it was highly connected. Like, so the beauty of what you're describing in the heart being like 10 times more than the brain, and them working in unison, that's not just what I was preaching, that's what I was being. Like, and it was just creator mode.
Yeah, so
I don't know. So I lost that faith. I lost that ability. I lost that, and it's because of the particular way in which I got twisted in relationship with God, in relationship with the true self, and in relationship with Jesus, and got swallowed in the drama triangle of the hero, victim, villain, like, and it all. And so my way back from where I ended up is not the same as somebody who is just has whatever egoic programming or conditioning or, other traumas that, we all experience being in, in the matrix in the old world and whatever.
And on that note, let's pause this conversation. So that wraps up, concludes this feminine aspect of this class. Where we're at now is more of a masculine portion, where it's the giving and receiving of an offer. So this offer it's an offer. So it includes the name of the event, it includes a location, it includes a time, it includes a donation amount, It includes how somebody can reach out to you. And so it includes these aspects that together, when expressed, somebody can receive the offer that I give in such a way that before I gave it, it wasn't available, and then after they've received it, something new is possible that literally wasn't possible before I communicated. And so we're going to have 2 minutes each to give an offer, and I'm going to start and share. The name of this event is called the Up Level Ceremony. It's for a specific people. Are you like a leader of people? Are you an event facilitator that is like leading people, and you're hosting events, and you've been growing within yourself and expanding, but you find yourself plateaued spiritually? It's like there's this lightness, but there's this like, what's next question. What's next is the up-level ceremony. The up-level ceremony it's a 7-day event. It's here in rural Costa Rica on Grace 2 property, earth-waking property in the mountains. And the dates of this event are, start date is December 27th, end date is January 2nd, 2025. So it's going into New Year. And on the first 5 days of this event, it's no food. And in addition, we have 6 hours of meditation per day that are in 2-hour windows. And so it's a food fasting, cleaning literally from the inside out. And then going into 2025, rejuvenating the body on the first with organic fruits like papaya, like mango, and vegetables. We have Okinawa spinach literally growing on the land, and this will be available. And the minimum donation amount is $333, and in the replay of this video, all of the content information I just shared is going to be in the description. And if you want to like be and participate and be at this up-level ceremony, make your donation, number one. Number two, find my email and then send me a message that says Natural Balance, and then we'll have a conversation after that and speak to more details on the up-level ceremony. So that's my offer. I'll pause there, and who wants to make an offer? Dang, David, I actually thought you were going for it this time. Like, I was like, come on. So, Sarah Jean or Tycon or David, do you want to share an offer? All right. Yes. The offer itself is that new opportunity. So it's like, before you speak, this thing isn't, and then after you speak, it's a new opportunity that somebody can receive. Both. Those are invitations, but that's kind of what puts together something that somebody can receive. To just be, feel the moment. You've got 2 minutes, let it rip.
Yeah, I'd love to offer something silly. And inspired by today's conversation, I'd like to do it over on Friday if possible. We'll double check on the time. And something silly is a space that if you find yourself overthinking in your head, conquered by your mind, as I've found myself many times before. It's a space to transcend words, to come into our authentic self in a expressionary way, and to move past blocks and stickiness with fun. Yeah, so unfortunately anybody watching this won't be able to find that, but come down here to Earth Waking and then you can participate in something silly. So see you there.
So if I want to attend this event here, how do I do that?
I will check with scheduling and find a clear spot, and I'll announce it the morning of breakfast.
All right,
Yeah.
come on.
Sound good?
Yes.
Perfect.
I'll turn around. All right, so I got an offer. I host the On Purpose podcast here with Kirk McDowell. He is the head artist here at Earth Waking, and he leads the Visionary Leadership Program. That's also a resource for you guys that can be inside of the chat. But this On Purpose podcast, it is deep dive conversations into how to live a life of purpose, how to flourish and be fulfilled in all areas of our life, to thrive and to have people that are around you thriving and living our life to the fullest. Because if any area of your life is not at a level 10, I invite you to have an inquiry about that and why not, because you absolutely deserve it. And yeah, I just want to also drop in there, when I found a higher purpose rather than just trying to survive or trying to make ends meet or making sure that my kiddos had food or any of those things, life just seemed so much grander. The possibilities just seemed endless when I found a purpose that was greater for myself, and to head in that direction, to establish God's kingdom here on earth, and not stop until that's done, you know. And I've made it. It's here. It's alive. It's present. It's now, with a community that is just so supportive. And I couldn't have asked for a better gift to live my life that way. So I invite you to the On Purpose podcast. It's on YouTube. The link will be in the chat. There is, you don't have to send any money. It's completely free to be able to have this resource for you. I love you, and thank you so much for joining us today.
David, welcome.
I mean, we just got finished discerning, inciting, distinguishing how I am not in my heart and completely in my head. So I'm not sure how to make an authentic offer. You know, I don't want it to be from a place of significance or whatever the hell else. Like, I believe in myself and that I have something to offer, but I want to offer it when I can do it from the heart and authentically. So as much as I'd like to, I'm choosing not to for that reason.
So if you're watching this and you're somebody who assists people in making offers from their heart, here's an opportunity for collaboration. And with that, I love you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your presence and your energy and your heart, and for engaging and being involved. And with that, peace. Peace.